Before we begin today's program, I want to introduce a CLEO alum and Congresswoman Annette Barragan. Please, if you could please come up. Um, I know she's so busy. I want to thank you for coming today. I want to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. I'm a CLEO alum, and in 2002, I was a student, and somebody told me about CLEO, and I applied. And next thing you know, I was at Arizona State University for the summer before I started law school. And I have to tell you, I love CLEO. I credit CLEO for the success that I had in law school. Now, I remember as a student when I was taking CLEO, I was pulling the hair out of my head as I was reading these cases and trying to figure it out in this compressed program. But it was so helpful for me because when I got to the real thing, I was waiting for it to get as intense and as hard, and it didn't happen until the second semester. So I really did have that CLEO edge. And it is because of CLEO that I believe I was able to be in the top 10% of my class and give me that edge. So I am a big fan. I tell all students who tell me that they want to go to law school, I say, look into CLEO. It gives you an edge. It helps you out, especially for those of us who come from immigrant parents, who come from parents who are not lawyers. My mom only finished the third grade. There was absolutely nothing they knew about telling me to go to law school other than you got to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I see blood and I want to pass out. So for me, it was an easy decision. But I just wanted to come tonight to show my support. And I didn't prepare any remarks or anything. I didn't know I was going to be speaking. I just really wanted to come because when I heard CLEO was doing a reception, I said, I got to go. I got to support. I got to be there to thank them and to thank all of the people who opened their wallets to support CLEO because we need to continue the program. We got to keep it going for the next generation so that I only don't get the only benefit, but people behind me get that benefit. So thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who support CLEO, who work for CLEO, who make it happen, because the lives that you impact is huge. And we may not come back all the time to say thank you, but it's funny because in my line of work, I run into people who say, "You remember me? We did CLEO together." It's really great to see people then go on and succeed. And because of CLEO, we're able to get ahead. So I just want to thank you all and thank CLEO. I'm going to keep fighting for CLEO and keep making sure that CLEO is successful as long as it can be. Thank you all.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. That was amazing and quite a surprise for both of us. So thank you. Before we begin, I want to thank everyone for being here. Obviously, I want to thank Greenberg Traurig for their incredible generosity for hosting tonight's event. A special thank you to our CLEO board member and partner here at Greenberg, Samantha Huja, who's in the back. Thank you, Samantha, so much for helping make this a success. And Imani Sims, an event professional here who helped bring everything together. Thank you. My name is JC Polanco, and I have the privilege of leading this incredible team here at CLEO. Allow me to introduce the remarkable individuals that I get to work with, who are the backbone of this organization. We're not just employees. This is a family. This is a real CLEO team, and I'm so excited that they're here. Our COO here is Leigh Allen. Thank you, Leigh. We have our Thank you so much for all you do. We have our VP of Finance and Administration, Julie Long. Thank you, Julie. We have our VP of Academic Affairs, Attorney Linda Ceballos, who's here tonight. Thank you, Linda. Our Director for Law School Initiatives, Dominique Moss, our newest team member, CLEO alumna. Very excited about her. Director of Development and Grants, Sabrina Cox. And Misha, you're out there. We know you're watching. Thank you for pulling all of this together and for the wonderful work you've done for us. Our Board and Advisory Council, just wow. From our chair, Elizabeth Campbell, who's here in the front. Our CLEO Edge event chairwoman, Rachel. Where are you? Rachel Okolski. She's here. Our development chair, Robert Fall. Finance chair, Daryl Franklin. Emeritus, previous chair, Angela Cox. We have original trailblazers here, like our Bronxite Malcolm Morris. Judge Denise Owens is here. Randy Smith is here. Samantha's here. So many hardworking board members. We have our members of our advisory council. Where's Veronica? Veronica Dunlap. Eduardo Reyes. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. And I know there may be some folks that didn't tell me they were going to be here. I'm sorry if I didn't call you, but know that I mean to call you, and I will call you eventually if I didn't see you. So thank you so much for all the work you do. Our gratitude extends beyond our team and our board. We're very thankful for all of you here tonight for gracing us with your presence and supporting CLEO. Your support means everything for us. So thank you so much to all of you. For over 56 years, CLEO has been at the forefront of making law school and the legal profession look and feel like America. Today, we have over 30,000 alum, one who you met just now, our Congresswoman. But we have alum who are in the halls of Congress. They're judges in every level of government, like you're going to see tonight, from the federal, state, and local. They're prosecutors, district attorneys, they're defense attorneys, they're partners, they're associates all over the country. One thing they all have in common, they've gone through CLEO and they're agents of change, making a difference every day. So I'm so proud of what we do here at CLEO. They saw the value of what we do here. Now, you may have heard, you may have heard that there are people out there who don't want the legal profession to look and feel like America. Could you believe that? Brian, could you believe that? There are people who don't want the folks that are defending our Constitution, that are protecting democracy, to look like America. They're out there, I kid you not. They don't care about institutional roadblocks. Nope. They don't care about the struggles that some folks have to deal with. They don't care at all about these things. CLEO says, you cannot stop us. We're going to break down barriers. You cannot stop this mission. You cannot stop this vision. We are going to make sure that our students are going to be able to compete at the highest levels. They're going to be able to take the LSAT. And we want to thank NCBE because they're going to be able to take the boards and the bar and be able to succeed there. Because wherever our students work with us and go through the CLEO program, they're able to compete and we help them get the tools they need to be able to go toe to toe. We do this because we stand on shoulders of giants, many of whom we celebrate tonight. We are so excited to be joined by our awardees. You know, they make this a reality. They work for all of us. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm here to thank all of them tonight. And I want to be able to thank all of the amazing sponsors that have really put their money where their mouth is. You know, a lot of people claim to care about the good work that we do. But it's something to be able to come out here tonight and support us. It's something to put your money where your mouth is, right? And these sponsors here tonight have just been incredible. We want to thank Aiken Gump, Lincoln Financial Group, Wumble Bond Dickinson as our premier sponsors. And there are so many other sponsors that I really want to make sure that I get an opportunity to thank. So bear with me for just a second. The ACC Foundation, Access Lex Institute, Booz Allen Hamilton, Barnes and Thornburg, Fenimore, Williams and Connolly, the Comprehensive Financial Design Group, DP Solutions, Finnegan, Goulston and Stores. Wow, they've been so helpful to us. KIPP Public Schools, Littler, McCarter and English, Ogletree Deacons, Worst Financial Services, Baker Hostetler, and our wonderful benefactors, our chair, Elizabeth Campo, Joseph Carafano, Aisha Christian, Angela Birch Cox, Darrell Franklin, Bob and Denise Owens, Winta, and Damian Pay. There's so many of you. And by the way, I just saw Jennifer Jones, who's a member of our advisory council, who's here as well. Thank you for all you do. I am so excited to begin our program. I mean, you really have no idea how much your presence means to us here tonight. I have the privilege of introducing a CLEO student, a CLEO alum and a CLEO student. Where are they? Can you please come up? Jeremy, come up. Jeremy is a CLEO alum and a graduate of Penn State School of Law. Penn State Dickinson School. And I'm so excited to have you here. Jeremy, if you could say a few words.
Thank you. Wow. I can top that, but good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope everybody's having a good time. My name is Jeremy Garcia, as JC said, and I'm a CLEO alum from the Pre-Law Summer Institute class of 2020. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight, and you may ask yourselves, why, Jeremy? Well, what I mean is that I had all odds against me in my path to becoming a lawyer. Statistically speaking, I did not have the profile. For example, I didn't have the grades, quote unquote, the proper education to become a lawyer. I am a first-gen Latino from Washington Heights, New York. Any New York people in the house, right? Who began working at 15 to help my family. Life happened, my grades suffered, I applied to law school for a few cycles and no luck. I was considered a risk. And then CLEO happened. CLEO saw the opportunity to invest in my dream, an opportunity to invest in me. That investment led me to participate in the 2020 PLSI and meet the leadership at Penn State Dickinson, and that came with an offer to become a law student at PSU. My dream came true. It was through CLEO that I developed great friendships with people like Eduardo, Veronica, JC as well, Bernarda Villalona. I don't think Bernarda's here tonight, but a shout out to her, and more. And it was through CLEO that I was able to overcome the hurdles of law school because, as all of you know, law school ain't easy at all, especially during the pandemic. But overall, it is through CLEO that I'm here tonight before you as a proud JD. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I believe it takes a board of directors to create a lawyer. And CLEO is part of my board. So tonight, I ask each and every one of you that's faced adversity and that was considered a risk at any point in your life, to become a director for future lawyers in their board. My ask tonight is that you further CLEO's mission statement and invest in the future of other lawyers, law students, and anybody who wants to come through CLEO, like myself. I wouldn't have succeeded had it not been for organizations like CLEO, and I plan on doing my part to help fund future lawyers. Join me in being a board of directors to someone whose dream is to become a lawyer, a legal luminary, despite what many would consider a risk. Join me in investing in CLEO. Thank you very much, everybody, and bring out your pockets and credit cards.
So I'm looking at our program, and that was great, Jeremy. Thank you. I'm so proud of you, man.
Thank you.
You're going to be doing great things. I'd like to introduce board member Robert Falk. You come up, and Angela. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to share a secret with you tonight. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you how to build a stool. In this room, we have people who are sitting down, and we have people who are standing up. They're less comfortable. And you know what? There are people who don't want you to have seats. They don't want you to sit down. They want to hide the fact that stools exist. But we are here to change that. A stool has to have 3 legs. And so the students that come to CLEO, they've got 2 of those legs. They've got talent and they have determination. What they don't have is resources. And they need the 3 legs so that they can succeed. There are people who are trying every day to file lawsuits, to block the progress that we're making, to make this profession look like the country. And all they are asking for is our support. So the way that you make a stool, because we already have 2 legs, we have students who have talent, and they've got more grit than I ever had. And what they need is a tool. And this is it, folks. This is the tool, because we have posted around here QR codes where you can directly make donations to invest in students' futures. And I want to tell you that this is urgent. This has to happen now, because people every day are blocking the building of stools for people who look like Javier and everybody else in this room. It's urgent. We can't wait 20 years for a course to reverse. The arc of justice is long, but we can't wait for a generation to pass by. So as you see the QR codes, please, we didn't charge for people to come here, but we asked you to invest. CLEO doesn't need the money. The students need the money, and they need it now.
So I'm here to amplify that. And if you all have the QR code, could you put it on the screen? I want you to raise your hands. You were nodding when Rob talked about the full-on assault of opportunities, this war that's being waged against opportunities for people from underrepresented and disadvantaged communities to do anything, to go to law. Anybody heard about that? Anybody heard about a case that said race-conscious admissions? You can't do race-conscious submissions for college? Anybody? Okay. Anybody heard about DEI being the cause of recent lapses in airplane safety? Anybody heard that it was DEI that caused the ship to run into the Key Bridge?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, this campaign is real, and it's designed to make organizations like CLEO, just put them out of existence and end once and for all the opportunities for the students that CLEO serves. Students like Jeremy, students like our Congresswoman. CLEO is being starved of the very resources that it needs to carry on its important work. And at the same time, students, colleagues, supporters are looking to CLEO to do even more. You've got to do something. You've got to stop this. You've got to help us. So it falls on us. We're the courageous ones. We're the ones who won't be bullied or threatened, who continue to support CLEO, who actually increase our support of CLEO, knowing that this is the time when our contributions will make the greatest difference. The ones who know that if we don't step up, next generation of lawyers in the courtroom, lawyers in the deliberation room, lawyers in the boardroom, lawyers in the rooms of Congress and state legislatures, lawyers in the rooms where agendas are crafted, policies are made, dollars are allocated, lawyers in the room where it happens will not look like the rest of America. Lawyers like you, lawyers like me, an entire generation of lawyers who will never have the opportunity to make the world better through the practice of law. I'm not going to let that happen. Raise your hand if you're not going to let that happen. And while you got your hand up your phone. And use that QR code to give to CLEO. You know, I mean, we joke, but it is really serious. I have been affiliated with CLEO for over 20 years, and I have never seen it like this. We have got to step up. We have got to ask those around us to step up. We are the ones that are going to save this thing, you and me. So please, please pick up those phones, scan that code, give what you can, do a recurring gift, whatever it takes. But they're depending on us. These students are depending on us. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the gift you're going to give. Yes, thank you.
I'm finishing up my code. I'm not playing around.
Would you stand on this side, Rob?
Yes, I can. Just give me a second. There you go. Done.
So our esteemed chair of the development committee and board member, Rob Falk, have you heard him tonight? He's full of energy. He's helped us so much. As you know, I just been here now almost 2 years. I want to thank Rob Falk for all of the amazing counsel and advice and all your hard work for the students of CLEO. But right now, Rob Falk has been named Chief Legal Officer of the Truth Initiative, where he's doing God's work. And we're going to lose Rob. So tonight, CLEO wants to show their appreciation for all of the incredible work that he's done for us. So, Rob,
I'm trying to get you to stay. I'm a leader, a true leader, and we're very, very proud of Rob. So if you are feeling the way that I am right now after Rob's appeal and Angela's, go to that QR.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Right, so we're going to begin with our program. Where's Lay? Dominique, please come up. Dominique Moss is our Director of Law School Initiatives, so we're so happy to have you here today.
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Dominique Moss. I am the Director of Law School Initiatives with CLEO. In my first year of CLEO, I had the honor and pleasure of working with Mitchell Hamlin School of Law in St. Paul, Minnesota. And there I met wonderful team members who I collaborated with, one of which I have the honor of awarding tonight. So in terms of the person who I want to recognize, I want to highlight that this person makes tremendous impact in education as a legal instructor. He is also the director of DEI. I know this, Dominique, hello. Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion over at Mitchell Hamlin, as well as he is serving as a, excuse my nerves, everyone, executive coach, helping those who can need support shaping their lives both professionally and personally. Our awardee leads from a place of empathy, and he shows up for his students through his dedication and through coaching them personally. I nominated Professor Petrie not just because he had the highest ratings for PLSI last year from students, highlighting that he is an amazing instructor, but also because of who he is to his students. He shows up and writes letters of recommendation for them. He shares his feedback to others to help them, be stronger in their applications to law school. And he gives them pep talks exactly when they need them. When I was there physically in person at Mitchell Hamlin, I stepped into the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion office, and he was talking to students whenever they needed an extra boost during the summer. He has also somehow done the impossible. He has coached someone like me who has never been to law school on what exactly a tort is. Never heard of it. So please join me in congratulating Professor Rick Petrie as our 2024 Education Awardee.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good evening. It is truly a humbling opportunity to be here. This is really not about me. Nothing that I do for these students is really about me. It's not about getting awards. It's not about being recognized. It's about being a servant. I've heard our prior speakers talk about the challenge that we face right now, and as a ground soldier that's in the law school arena every day, I see it every single day. After this case came out that said you can't take race into consideration in admissions, what we're seeing, just like we saw in California when they initiated something like this, is our numbers are going down. And that's not okay. Those are voices that need to be present in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in meeting rooms. Those are people that need to have access to legal education. And frankly, those are voices that bring different perspectives to the table. I remember when that decision came out, even though I think we all kind of knew where the court was going to land on that, for the first couple of days, if I'm being candid with you, I was very angry. And I sat in that anger for a little while, and then I thought about it. I said to myself, well, Rick, you can be angry and do nothing, or you can be angry and do something. And so I decided to double down on my commitment to make sure that the people that look like me and that look like all of us in this room, those first generation people who never had an opportunity, and for some people would not have an opportunity, but for people that are in this room, still have those opportunities. And so I join in the chorus of saying, if there's anything that you can do, whether it's make a contribution to CLEO, which, by the way, I strongly suggest that you do, I will step up and make one myself, in addition to the work that I do now for CLEO. But if there are other things that you can do those things. This is very important. It is very important. I look at the future and I look at the problems that we're facing in our country, and I say, yeah, you could just sit on the sideline, Rick. You've got it pretty good. You're comfortable. things will just stay out of the way. Don't make yourself a target. But then I look at my children. And I look at the children that I deal with every day, these young people that come into our law schools. And I think to myself, would you just hand these problems over to them? Would you say to yourself and to the world that these problems are too big for me to handle? Or would you do what my dad, my mom, my grandma, my grandfather did and say, no, this is not too hard for me. I'm going to stand up, fight. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to be in those rooms and I'm going to let my voice be heard. And so that's what we have to do. That's the challenge that we face. And I believe that we're all up to meeting that challenge. There's certainly voices out there that are speaking loudly now, but they can't speak louder than we can. Their commitment, their resolve cannot be stronger than ours. And frankly, for me, as a dad, and as Sharon Van Leer would tell you, I'm kind of a Papa Bear kind of guy. I'm not going to let you hurt my people. You can mess with me if you want to, but you're not going to hurt my people. And you're not going to deny them the opportunity that they're deeply entitled to, that they've worked hard to achieve, and frankly, to become the next leaders of our country. We need these people. We need you. I thank you for acknowledging me, but again, this isn't about me, but it's sure about these young people that we're here to support. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to CLEO.
Good evening. It is my honor to present the Diversity Award. And as previous speakers have announced, the D word is sometimes abhorred and is under attack. But I'm proud of our diversity honoree because the Honorable Phyllis Thompson demonstrates what we truly mean by that diversity of background, of experiences, of talents. Oh, footnote, I will teach you how to play the piano, by the way. Of leadership, of ethics, of bringing all of that to the fore. She's a champion. She finished at the top of her high school class, at the top of her college class, at the top of her law school class. It is truly an honor to present someone who exemplifies what CLEO is all about. That collective mixture of similarities and differences when brought to bear in a judge that can really understand individual situations, different circumstances, and be smart about the decision making. I look at diversity a lot of times from a decision making standpoint for all of us in business, education, and yes, in the law as a jurist. So please join me in congratulating the Honorable Phyllis Thomas, Senior Judge for the DC Court of Appeals. There, by the way. All set? Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for this award. I am deeply honored to receive it, and I have to say that I am really proud to be affiliated with CLEO in this way because I have a long-standing admiration for the work that CLEO does and for the remarkable success that it has had over so many years. When I told my sister that I was getting this award, she said to me, well, what exactly is it that they think you did? Well, I'm not sure, but I said, you know, when I was on the board of the National Conference of Bar Examiners and I was heading the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, our committee made a number of suggestions to the board about ways that we could help to promote diversity in the legal profession. And one of those recommendations was to support CLEO. And I am proud to say that that NCBE and CLEO partnership has endured over the years, and we're really proud of that. And so maybe that's what I did. And I said, you know, I have long been inspired by a congresswoman by the name of Barbara Jordan, whom you all may remember. She became famous during the Watergate hearings. She was a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and she made one of the speeches that has been called one of the great American pieces of oratory. But in later years, she was ill. I think she had multiple sclerosis, and she withdrew from public life. She was no longer in Congress, and she went to teach at the University of Texas Law School. And I happened to think of her because I was traveling and I was in a terminal in the airport in Austin, Texas, where there's a terminal named for her, the Barbara Jordan Terminal. And there is a quote from an interview that she did. And what she said in that interview was in response to a question about whether she regretted that she was no longer in public life. And she said, well, when you're in public life and you do things out in front of the public all the time, you have the opportunity to make dramatic moves and to do things with bold strokes. And that's really good because you can make real progress and you can work toward inclusion in our society. But she said, I've come to realize now that I'm out of the public eye and I am in the obscurity of law school teaching, that I can actually do just as much in a quiet way through what she called marginal incremental adjustments. She said, we all need to try wherever we happen to be perched or positioned to make marginal incremental adjustments to make ours a more inclusive society. So I think that's my answer to the question of sort of what did you do? I'm not sure I've done enough yet, but what I'm going to do, especially because I feel so honored to receive this award, is to redouble my efforts to try to make marginal incremental adjustments by being a role model where I can be one, by my own hiring practices, by my teaching practices, yes, by the money I give, so that those who are out there now struggling to make it can make it. I am a child of affirmative action. I know that. I came through school in the years when monies were available because affirmative action was maybe at its zenith. And so I got to go to college, free ride, full tuition, law school, free tuition, graduate school, free tuition. And I know that's why I was able to succeed and to become a lawyer and to become a partner at a major law firm and to become a judge. It's only because of that, because people were helping me that I succeeded. And so for me, giving back to try to help others succeed is a very personal mission. And I haven't done enough yet, but I'm going to do more, and I'm going to do it inspired by this award. So my deep thanks to CLEO for this. I really appreciate it. I hope all of you will redouble your efforts and join me in trying to make those marginal incremental adjustments. Thanks.
Thank you. For those I haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Leigh Allen, second CLEO COO, and I appreciate you all being here tonight to join us. Tonight's Greater Equality Award recipient is attorney Brian Parker, co-founder and CEO of Legal Innovators. Based in Washington, D.C., Legal Innovators is an end-to-end technology-enabled talent management solution that has innovated the way in which new attorneys come into the practice of big law. It does so by partnering with top-tier law firms and corporate legal departments to place lawyers in a 2-year apprenticeship-style experience. With a background in law, finance, and business, Brian is skilled in managing and leading large companies with $100 million budgets. He's a real cigar aficionado too, as he'll tell you. He began his career as a mergers and acquisition attorney at Shearman & Sterling before he continued to take leadership roles in investment banking and entrepreneurship opportunities. He's a frequent speaker on innovation, data, and efficiency, mental health, and DEI in the practice of big law. Brian earned his Bachelor's of Arts from UC Berkeley. A member of both the California and New York bars, he received his JD from NYU School of Law. A lifelong learner, he is now in the process of completing a Master of Divinity degree at Howard University. And last but in no way least, I'm both pleased and proud to say that Brian and I, as well as Judge Walton, I learned tonight, are members of the same beloved fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. So at this time, I would like to present the 2024 CLEO EDGE Greater Equality Award to my brother, Brian Parker, Esquire.
I'm not gonna shout out 06, but everybody in here is an alpha. You. I just wanna take a picture with you. Gotcha, okay. So I was starting Pop Warner football. And so it was just a little guy, maybe like 7 or 8 years old. And we go through and I can't, I'm trying on helmets. I keep going up the size until I finally get to the end. And I said, your head is so big, we're gonna have to get you one from the high school. And so I wanted to just thank CLEO for reminding me of just how big my head is. So I appreciate that. Next time I'll get a nice profile picture like the judge. So CLEO, I want to thank you, obviously, on behalf of myself and our company. You guys do such great work, and we appreciate this award in the category of inclusion. John Greenblatt here in the front row, fellow co-founder, and Megan Richards, who's our Director of Operations and Chief of Staff, as well as our teammates, all support the mission of CLEO, which, as you heard, is to expand opportunities for underrepresented students to attend law school. I wanted to underline something that we heard earlier and say, since its inception, more than 32,000 students have participated in CLEO programs and made their way into the legal profession. I'd like to acknowledge my other awardees for all the stuff that they're doing and thank the sponsors because you do make this work possible. I think people have talked about the QR code, so I'll leave that. This award, while presented to me, is made possible because of our team. My mom, who is here, Charlene, stepfather Lee, and my friends Keith, Michael, and Pete, two of which are alphas, just in case you were wondering. I appreciate you guys being here for this. The lessons I learned about inclusion, I learned at a young age from my mother. And she was active in the civil rights movement. And many of us have, or many of the speakers tonight, have lamented the Supreme Court's decision. I think if she were going to be up here, she would tell you that you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution, right? So our fight goes on. She was the first in her high school in rural East Rome, Georgia, to integrate that school. She was qualified. Her lesson to me then on this important point is that all persons in our society should be able to, as long as they're qualified, enjoy a quality education, and in so doing, enjoy the freedom to pursue their dreams, regardless of race or creed. Inclusivity benefits us all. The fundamental question at issue is how we provide those that possess the skills and meet the requisite qualifications an opportunity to prove themselves in the legal space. I believe we will be judged by how we as an industry equitably provide such opportunities. CLEO has been a leading light in this work. As CEO of Legal Innovators, I am happy to participate in this work. As a leader in the legal industry, I am beyond humbled to be recognized by CLEO in this way and to now be included with other luminaries that have received the award in the past, including the folks tonight, the late Vernon Jordan, Duval Patrick, and of course, my fellow NYU law alumnus, Sherilyn Eichel. The eradication of poverty is my life's work. I believe the best chance people have to escape poverty is through quality education, legal and otherwise. I've been called to do this work. Recently, I was speaking to a group of Howard undergraduate pre-law students, and they asked me why. This was my why. I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to close by saying that my why is best embodied in the words of Isaiah 6:8. And I hope others can identify with this. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Who shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for all of you who have been here tonight to receive your awards. The next award is the Vernon E. Jordan Heritage Award, and that award goes to Neil Katyal. Now, everyone here, I'm sure, has seen Neil about, I don't know, 10 times a day on NBC, fighting the good fight for us. But, you know, Neil is an attorney, a professor, former acting solicitor general of the United States. Neil is a Dartmouth grad and a Yale Law School grad. And he really needs no introduction. He's a true trailblazer and someone who has been at the forefront of defending our democracy and our rights and fighting for justice in front of our courts and pushing back against the forces who would want to take away those rights. Attorney Katyal lives the mission and vision of CLEO daily. And we thank him so much for arguing some of the most pressing cases of our lifetime before the Supreme Court. Attorney Katyal could not be here with us tonight because he was called to fight for a case in federal court to make our community safer, fight for gun control. Still so much like Neil Katyal. Neil is just phenomenal. Neil wanted to be here, he couldn't, but he sent a video accepting his award, and I'd like to play that video of him accepting the Vernon E. Jordan Award tonight. Thank you.
I'm so grateful and honored to be receiving the Vernon Jordan Award. I'm so sorry I can't be with you. When you all called me to accept the award, I accepted right away and said I'd be there. But the Ninth Circuit, U.S. Court of Appeals, had a different view. Indeed, as you're watching this, I'm arguing a case in the Ninth Circuit right now in San Francisco, defending Hawaii's gun control law. So that's why I'm not there. If there were any other way I could be there, I would be there. But I'm so sorry. But Vernon meant something so special to me. He was a legendary figure. Went to the Howard Law School. I teach Georgetown, of course, but Howard is a close second in Washington, D.C. He went to law school at a time when less than 1% of lawyers were Black. And he paved the way for so many people, including one of my great mentors, Eric Holder. And so I've always been grateful to him for really diversifying the profession and showing what a great lawyer was, because he was a truly great lawyer. He's a great problem solver. But the thing that's near and dear to me is how much he cared about diversity and diversifying our bar. Our bar continues to have problems on diversity. I was asked with Eric Holder to write a report back in 1999 about diversity in the legal profession for Bill Clinton, who was then the president. And we did, and we uncovered a lot of tragic stories. And those tragic stories continue. In my bar, the Supreme Court bar, I look at, for example, the fact that over the last 8 years, only 17% of oral arguments were done by women. And when you talk about racial minorities, the number is even lower. So our bar and the Supreme Court has a long way to go. I blame myself and frankly everyone else in it for part of that. And we've got to all do better. And our profession needs to do better. And during those hard times, I think about someone like Vernon and think, you know, I'm never gonna be what he was, but that's the goal, to try and do for our bar what he did before. So with that, thank you so much for the award, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely celebration.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you, Neil. I know you're watching and we'll send you the link. At this point, I would like to introduce my boss, the chair of our CLEO Board of Directors. If you would kindly come up.
Sure. You couldn't even say that with a straight face. I got it. Thank you. Thank you again. Oh, I'm so moved by all of the presenters and the honorees. This is a special moment. We have a special guest speaker with us today. And the word that comes to mind, and you can Google it, about Judge Walton, Reggie Walton, is courage. And I've read a lot about him. I know him as a CLEO alum, a CLEO judge on our Hall of Fame judges. I read his bio. His bio is available online. But the things that you've done in your career, Judge, the word courage comes to mind. And a quote that I remember, did not hear it live, but I remembered John F. Kennedy saying, the context was going to the moon, not saying, you may take us to the moon, you may do that, I don't know. But he said, we do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. And frankly, that's what resonates with me and this work at this time. It is not easy, but you are using your voice, your talent, your background, your experience, your intelligence, your zeal to stand up for what is right. And for that, we are very grateful. And we thank you for coming here tonight to share a few words with us. So everyone, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Reggie D. Walton.
Good evening. I did take some time to prepare remarks, but I'm gonna fly without them. I've been really inspired by what I've heard tonight, and I have the greatest admiration for CLEO and what it's done for me. And I have to sort of relate back to my upbringing to give you an appreciation of why I feel so committed about speaking out about issues related to race and opportunity. I grew up in a home, and I hate to characterize it as poor, but it was economically. But it wasn't poor in all other respects because I had great parents who, unfortunately, because of the time in which they were growing up, opportunities were not available to them. I went to school in a high school, in grade school, in Western Pennsylvania outside of Pittsburgh. I did not ever have a Black teacher. I played football. That was my means by which I went to college on a football scholarship. I had never had a Black football coach. There were no Blacks. The main source of income that people made in my little hometown was in the steel mill. My father worked in the steel mill a good part of his life, and the only job he was ever able to do was as a laborer, because jobs above that were just not available for people like him because of his skin color. My mother, who graduated as an honor student, was not able to go to college. She couldn't get a job even selling goods at a 5 and 10 cent store. Not because she wasn't qualified, but because she was a person of color. And my parents instilled in us the fact that we were going to do more than what they had the opportunity to do. But I, growing up, not seeing anybody who was using their intellectual capacity to make a living, did not perceive that that was a way in which I was going to achieve success in life. So I invested my energies in athletics, and I played well enough to get a football scholarship, which was my means out of the community where I grew up. But before I got to that point, because I was trying to be one of the fellas, I wanted to be accepted. So I ended up in juvenile court on 3 occasions. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's a part of my life. And I speak out a lot about the issue because I know that there are other Reggie Waltons out there who, if just given the opportunity, can rise above their circumstances and put themselves in the same position I've been fortunate enough to put myself in.
Yes.
But many of our kids won't get that opportunity because we see the assault now taking place on the opportunities that were afforded to me through affirmative action. I'm not ashamed of being a product of affirmative action. I know there are some who say they are ashamed of the fact that they were the beneficiary because somehow people look down on them and think that their education is not as significant as it is because they were a product of affirmative action. I think that's sad that people feel that way. What is sad is if you had the opportunity through affirmative action and not having achieved success and done the things that affirmative action gave you the opportunity to do. So I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the fact when I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Washington, that for 2.5 years, trying some of the most difficult cases tried in this district, I never lost the case. Because there were some skills that I learned that I didn't learn in the classroom.
Right.
When I was trying cases here in Washington, the demographics of the city were very different. I tried most of my cases before all Black jurors, many of them from the South where my folk were from. And my grandmother, when she moved my mother and her sister from Georgia, she did that because her husband had been killed by a white man because he was counting his pay and standing on the sidewalk. And back in 1927, at that time, if you were Black and a white man approached you, you had to step off the sidewalk onto the street. And he didn't see the man approaching him, so he didn't step off the sidewalk. So the man took out a gun and shot him and killed him. And that's how my mother ended up in Western Pennsylvania, because my grandmother left Georgia because of that incident. And trying to make ends meet, I understand. I was not around then. I understand she ran the biggest speakeasy in Western Pennsylvania in order to make ends meet. But by the time I came along, she had put those dancers and gamblers and drinkers, and they had a brothel on the 3rd floor too. She had put all them out, and she had become very religious. And she let Bishop Stubbs, who was a holiness minister from South Carolina, use the hall that used to be the dance hall to be a church. And they had church every day. And I had to go to church even if I wasn't in the sanctuary every day. And I learned how to speak like a minister because I heard Bishop Stubbs preach every day. And I used to go before those jurors. I remember I had a circumstantial murder case. And I went before the jury, and the defense lawyer had denigrated our case. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, when you go back to that jury room, you go. One of the jurors put her hand up and said, so there were some skills that I learned, and it's some attributes I acquired because of the circumstances of which I came. I knew how to go into those communities and talk to young men who might not be inclined to talk to others because I grew up like they did. I had the ability to go before those jurors and speak to them in a way that resonated that others could not. That's a skill. And that's a skill that a lot of people don't have, and we don't get sometimes benefit for those skills. We've got to fight the hard battle. I know I have to follow the law as dictated by my higher courts, but I don't have to agree with their ruling. And the ruling about striking down affirmative action, in my view, was wrong. Because until we ever get to the point, and I hope one day in this country we do, when race doesn't mean anything, I hope one day, but it does still mean something. Why do 4 officers down in Mississippi feel it's all right to brutalize 2 Black men? Because racism, unfortunately, still exists in America. Why does somebody travel a good distance to Buffalo, New York, to a Black community and shoot innocent people in a supermarket? Why does somebody go a good distance to go into South Carolina, into a church, and kill people who are worshiping? Why does the claim be made that you heard about earlier, that the reason the bridge fell in Baltimore was because of DEI? It did not, but see, these attitudes still exist, and we've got to fight against those attitudes. And we've got to try and continue to provide opportunity for our young people who need those opportunities, because if we don't step up to the plate and we don't do the things to give them the opportunities, they will not be afforded to them. So I beg of all of you to continue your efforts to reach out and try and open the doors of opportunity for many of our kids who all they need is a chance. Because I know there are a lot of young Reggie Waltons out there who just need a break. And unfortunately, the doors are closing on them. And I think it's sad as a country that we are turning our backs on what this country is supposed to be about. So it's been a pleasure being here with you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Judge Walter. Appreciate it a lot. At this point, I would like to introduce Samantha. Samantha, please come up.
Good evening. Don't worry. I think it's me and Rachel, and then the bar's back open. So a couple more folks. So my name is Samantha Huja. I'm a shareholder here at Greenberg Traurig, and a very proud CLEO board member. On behalf of Greenberg Traurig and CLEO, I'm really grateful that we had the opportunity to have you all here with us, and really happy to have an amazing turnout. And very much thank all of the honorees for being here, and we appreciate all your efforts and everything that you're doing. So I found out actually today, Greenberg Traurig and CLEO were actually founded 1 year apart. GT was founded in 1967 and CLEO was founded in 1968. And there was actually a similar mandate for both. CLEO was created to increase the number of lawyers with diverse backgrounds back when lawyers of color were very, very rare. And similarly, in 1967, Greenberg Traurig, my firm, the founders were faced with religious discrimination. And so that's what inspired them to leave their previous firm and build a new kind of law firm where everyone was welcome. So that's why we at GT say diversity is in our DNA. It's at the very core of who our firm is. And I know the same is true for all our honorees and for everyone participating here tonight. And we're committed to becoming better lawyers and, more importantly, better people and building a better community, which is what this evening was really about. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And it was an amazing evening. And I'll turn it over to Rachel.
So somehow I stand not just between you and the bar, but behind all of these amazing speakers. So please lower your expectations before I get started. But thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Okolski. I'm a very proud CLEO board member, and it was my honor to chair this year's CLEO EDGE Awards Committee. So first, I'd like to ask you to please join me in thanking Greenberg Traurig for being tonight. Next, I'd like to give a big round of applause to the CLEO staff. Please raise your hands. They've been tireless to make this event. So as you've heard this evening, CLEO was born from the civil rights movement in 1968 with the mission to inspire, motivate, and prepare students from underrepresented communities to succeed in law school and beyond. And so to this day, more than half a century later and 32,000 students later, CLEO does everything within its power to fulfill that mission and help realize a legal profession that is truly diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So I hope you had the opportunity tonight to meet Jeremy Garcia and the many other rising stars in the room who've come to celebrate all of our honorees tonight. CLEO is so proud to have been a key part of their support systems and helping them to see and achieve a future in the legal profession that so many young people could have never dreamed possible. Inspired by these students, we do have to address that elephant in the room that we've talked about, that this is a tough time for DEI. And instead of, to borrow the words of my colleague Angela, waiting for the arc of justice to bend back the right way. We must all feel the urgent need to act and act now. Because if CLEO doesn't have the money to build this pipeline, then we could lose an entire generation of the next Vernon E. Jordans and Eric Holders and Thurgood Marshalls. And what would our world be like then? So I'd like to close with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He said that the future depends on what you do today. And so today, CLEO needs all of us to step up and support these students and the students who come after them and the students who are going to come after them. Because we all know, as a room full of lawyers, that diversifying our profession is a profoundly powerful step towards balancing the scales of liberty and social justice for all. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we hope you all get home safely.